Let's give James Moll and Ryan Veldhuizen a big hand, because that was amazing. Amazing. We learned a lot from that. I grew up on a farm, and I saw some of that going on at home, but on that scale, that was truly amazing. Now, Bo, you are a farmer. Was this the first time you've seen this, just right off the top?
No, I've had an opportunity to view a version that was different than the one we saw tonight. I didn't see the final cut until tonight, but what really speaks to me is the passion that Ryan and the other five have for their farms and agriculture in general. And I thought you've done a good job of really representing and bringing that out.
Now, we're going to have some microphones, I believe, set up here in the aisles. If you want to come up and ask a question, we'll just get things kind of started off here. James, this was amazing with all the documentary work that you've done, and then to go into the lives of these young farmers and tell their stories of Ryan and everybody else. As a matter of fact, one of the young farmers, you saw David Loberg, he was the one who lost his father. He was supposed to be here. Bo was taking his place, but he had some crop damage from a storm, so he had to go back and replant. So it happens, and that's what they're dealing with on a daily basis. But James, what influenced? Why did you want to tell this story? Why was it so important to you? And when you got into it, I mean, what was it like?
For me, I got into it initially, I suppose, because I eat. So a few years ago, I was standing in a supermarket, and I was holding a cantaloupe, and I was trying to figure out if it's ripe. And, I think you're supposed to look at the little thing and see, is it green or... and I didn't know, and I wanted to ask somebody there, well, who's going to know? And I thought about the farmer. And I thought, I don't know. I've never even been on a farm. I grew up in the middle of Los Angeles, and I thought there and then, this is something I need to make a film about. But I didn't. I went on to make a film about long-distance marathoners running across the Sahara Desert. And I did another one about the rock band, the Foo Fighters. And everything but. And then I found out that the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance was looking to find a filmmaker to make an unbiased look at farming today. And what does farming look like today? And I turned it down. I said, I don't want to do it because the members of USFRA are part of the agriculture industry, and I will be beholden to them to editorially say what they want to put in the film. So I said I would never do a film like that unless I had final cut on the film. And they said, great, you absolutely make your film. And they didn't see it until the film was completely finished. So it was a very long process from beginning to end, and a very tough one, and I learned a lot myself.
Well, at the end of the film, what stood out in your mind the most? What did you learn? What surprised you? Anything that shocked you at the end?
The most shocking thing I learned is how hard it is to get the smell of hog barn out of your clothes. But on every farm, it was a different experience, and it was a fantastic experience with everyone, because they were all completely different. So I did learn a lot. I was surprised that when I would ask the question with most of the farmers, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? A lot of it was about public perception of who farmers are.
Well, now, Ryan, you made a comment earlier that this film is amazing, and it tells the story of 6 young farmers, but it sort of tells the story of one, in a sense, of what young farmers are facing in America. What was it like to be chronicled, to have the cameras following you? Almost sort of your own little reality television going on there for a while, but what was that like? You had some little arguing going on with your brother. Was that just a nice arguing, what was that like for you?
Well, CJ and I get along very well, so that's usually the way it goes with him. Yeah, it was pretty much a reality show. When James showed up, I asked him what he wanted.
Wait a minute.
minus the drama. Minus the drama, I got to say that. We asked him, what do you want to see? And he goes, I want to see what you do every day. And so that's what we showed him. I mean, he followed us around doing exactly what we do on a day-to-day basis. I didn't mind a little personal space once in a while, but... No, and we could tell even when he was making it that his utmost goal was to get the true story, good, bad, or ugly. and I feel that's what you did.
It's fantastic. No, would you like to ask a question or in the audience? If anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and step up to the microphone. Now, Bo, you are a sixth-generation farmer. Sixth-generation farmer. That's fantastic. What brought you back to the farm to do this kind of work? Was it just coming back to the family? Was it just the opportunity?
You know, I faced some of the same questions we heard here today. My dad neither discouraged nor encouraged, really, me to come back to the farm. I did have the opportunity to grow up helping on the farm at an early age, just like 5 of the 6 here did. But now, for me, when I finished high school and went off to college, and I think we got a Kansas State holler a while ago, when I came here to NC State, when I went to North Carolina State, my goal at that time was not necessarily to come back to the farm. My goal was more to go into agribusiness and work with farmers, but not necessarily farm. I remembered the days on the tobacco farm too well, and in the hog farm, and you know, it's not always a romantic picture that's painted as far as the day-to-day activities. So I knew about the hard work, and I was looking at that time for something a little easier, and then I had the opportunity to continue on and go to graduate school, and I left, when I finished graduate school and left NC State, I went and worked off the farm for a year. And the day I started working for someone else is the day I realized I had made a mistake, and I missed the farm. And so, you know, the question is it in your blood? Is there a magnetic pull? And I would say it's all of those things. And so as the holidays rolled around, I had worked off the farm for about 9 months, came home for the holidays and said, Dad, I have messed up. Can we make this work? You know, they laid the financial books out. They showed us where we were. It was kind of an eye-opening experience to me. And he said, but I think we can make it work. And we have. And so, you know, I've had the same opportunity as Ryan and the rest of those folks to work on a family farm and to work with my family on that farm. And we've got the next generation sitting in the audience possibly there as well. So we've been really, really fortunate from that standpoint.
After seeing this film and just realizing how much work farmers need to do to produce and to keep producing more food on less land, there's a lot of pressure, do you think, on family farmers, on keeping the generations going and getting into the business?
I think there is on a lot of farms, and I'm assuming you were...
Both of you.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. We were never pressured. I don't think I will pressure any of my 3 children. My goal is the same goal as what we saw from these folks here today. We are trying to do things in a sustainable and an environmentally conscious manner. And our saying on our farm is that we're growing the next generation, and that is so true. We're making decisions today that I hope will affect our farm 20 years from now, so that when any or all of my 3 children make their career decisions, they'll have that opportunity as well.
Ryan, how about for you?
I agree completely with what he says. If you don't love it, don't come back. The nature of the work, your heart better be in it, otherwise it isn't gonna work out. And yeah, you know, the need to continue to better ourselves. I think a lot of farmers take pride in that fact and kind of take that as our responsibility to continually better. What does the world need us to be? What does our family need us to be in 20 years, in 50 years, in 100 years? How can we set this operation up, this farm up, to be where it needs to be in the future?
Wow. You know, one thing that surprised me, I think, when I heard it, one of the farmers was talking about a day off, and that sort of struck me. It's like, what? Because, you know, being a farmer, you're working 7 days a week, 365 days a year, just about. There's always something that needs to be done. But would you say this is a pretty accurate representation of how hard you all work and on a day-to-day and the struggles that you face?
I feel it is. James, what do you think? You got to see it.
I know our animals eat every day, and so they're, you know, it's an everyday job, but we make the time to do the things that are important as well too.
James, after finishing this film and looking at it and seeing audience reaction and to see how it's affected people, you made people laugh, you made people cry in that documentary. What does that do for you? I mean, how do you feel at the end of this that you've been able to share this with all of us and everyone who has seen it? And just to help us grow and to know more about farmers and what they do on a daily basis?
I think it's these guys that make us laugh and make us cry, and it's their story. And in this film, they're the storytellers. You don't hear my voice or a narrator's voice, and I didn't write a script for it. I went to film it, and then my hope is to put it together and put it out in the world, hoping that people will have the same connection ultimately with the farmers and ranchers that I did, have essentially that same experience, and come away from it feeling that, okay, I now know a farmer. That's
fantastic. I mean, I think you portrayed everything, and to see kind of how everything is going in the farming industry. So does anybody have any questions here?
I do. What was the process? How did you find the farmers that you featured? Obviously, they represented from coast to coast, north to south, mid-America. How did you go about finding these farmers that you featured?
Well, that was the goal, find as many different farmers, because farming is different on the East Coast and the West Coast, and organic, conventional, to find a variety of farmers. But then it was about actually getting them to want to participate. And I'll tell you, when you live in Los Angeles and you're a filmmaker and you call a farmer in Nebraska, the phone goes like that. And that happened quite a few times. But fortunately, there were people like Ryan who just were curious and wanted to know more. And you'd have to ask Ryan ultimately what made him decide to do it. But fortunately, we found people that were willing to participate, and quite a few in the end. And it was hard to just distill it down to the 6.
Ryan, why did you want to participate?
Once we got over the emotion of not us. It became a matter of, we felt, we did plenty of research on James, make sure that this isn't another undercover video. I mean, come on, honestly, what does a filmmaker from Los Angeles, California want to do with a Midwestern boy? I mean, come on. But no, we felt that this was our opportunity to present an accurate depiction of what we do on a day-to-day basis without getting any yelling match over whatever your agenda might be. Just, this is what it is.
Do you think farming has changed, and this goes to both of you too, that your job now has become to make or help the public become more educated in what you do? So it's not because of all these, I think, misconceptions and maybe perceptions the public has of what goes on the farm, that it's some dark thing going on. Is almost part of the job changing in a sense to educate the public and say, hey, come on, we're an open book. Look what we're doing. We care for the animals. I mean, we are surviving and because of them. I mean, do you think it's sort of changing?
Yes, no doubt. For so many years, it was so easy to just stay on the farm and do what it is that we love to do, which is farm. And with the information age today and people demanding and wanting more information on how their food is raised and grown, it's become much more important for folks like Ryan and myself to tell that story. And, we're not defending agriculture. We're telling what we do. Animal welfare, very important thing to us. A happy hog's a healthy hog. We want them to grow and to prosper and to do better. We take the same care with our crops as well. So it is very important for us to talk to mainstream America and to tell a little bit about our story. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to show that farmers are doing that. Not only are we feeding your family, but we're feeding our families too. And so we've got an awful lot at stake in this. And I thought that this film has done a good job of bringing that out and showing a little bit of what it is that we're doing every day to make sure that your food supply is exactly what you want it to be.
That's fantastic. Now, in closing, does anybody else have another question they would like to ask? Okay. James, what do you hope as a result of this film playing across the world, what do you hope comes as a result from audiences? What do you hope they learn from this? What will they take home?
I don't want to preach. I didn't come into it with an agenda. I just really wanted to document and get to know farmers. So if people do come away from it feeling that they've gotten to know a farmer, then I feel I've done my job. Something happened that I've actually not talked about this because it just happened. But that same market that I was in, where I was where I do all my shopping, I was there just recently, and there were stacks of Sutton's potatoes from the movie. And I took a picture with my cell phone, and I was thinking, I know who grew these. I know where these came from. And I thought, that's why I made this movie.
That's fantastic. We do have one last question, too. Or if you want... Wait, hold on. So if you want to go back up to the microphone so everybody can hear it, too. Go ahead.
Yes, enjoyed the film very much. I'm Bridget Sharp from Statesville, North Carolina, and I wanted to know, is there anything that you want from the public to help make farmers make us more aware of what you need as farmers from us?
Bo, you want to handle this one?
Well, since I'm from North Carolina, I will answer that question. And I think that part of what that I have been able to do the last 2 years through the USFRA with their food dialogues has been so important. And I don't want anything more than to have a conversation with someone about their food and how it's grown and raised. If you allow us that opportunity, we'll answer any question that you have.
Thank you. Nice, Bo. And we have another question?
This question's for James. I'm just curious, what would you say are, one or two things that you learned personally that, when you started this project, that you learned over the course of it that maybe you didn't realize?
Beyond the smell of the hog barn in my clothes and a lot. I mean, there's certainly quite a bit that I learned from just being on the farms and seeing these guys in action and seeing how hard they work. Now, I mean, you would think it would be obvious. You think you kind of would have some idea of what to expect to see, but I didn't. Ryan was commenting to me tonight a little bit about how, he says, I remember how surprised you were by the technology that we were using, that you saw me with an iPad and you just were looking at me so funny. But it's true. I think a lot of us still do have those preconceived notions of farms being the red barn and the chickens, just like it's logically, if I'd thought about it, I would have been a little better prepared what to expect. But that was something that came as a bit of a surprise to see how the farms actually were.
All right. Anybody else? Well, we want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for this very special screening of Farmland. It was eye-opening, James. It was absolutely fantastic. And give another round of applause, James. And Bo, thanks for being here. But Ryan, also one of the young farmers featured. And we certainly hope the film has provided new insight and perspectives into how our foods are grown and raised and the farmers that feed us. And we also want to give a special thanks to our host today, Feed the Dialogue NC and also BASF. Thank you so much. And we encourage you to visit feedthedialoguenc.com, dialogues.com, for additional information and resources, all kinds of videos there for you and interviews with North Carolina farmers. But above all, thanks so much for being here tonight. Thanks for help feeding our hungry neighbors, and thanks for coming to our special viewing of Farmland. James, thank you.